order the meeting of the Livingston Parish Council regular meeting for September 16, 2021. Mr. McMorris, you prepared to give the invocation this evening? Mr. Gerald. You need to unmute.
Unmute you.
Somebody unmute Mr. Gerald. There we go.
Lee, would you mind doing it for me?
Hey?
Would you mind doing it for me, please?
Oh, yeah, I'm happy to. Dear Heavenly Father, we thank you for this day, Lord. We thank you for the opportunity to come and serve the people of Livingston Parish. We ask, Lord, that you bless us and keep us. We know, Lord, that there are a lot of devastation out in our parish and others. We know people are hurting. We know that there's still some without power. We ask, Lord, that you be with them. Bless the linemen, Lord, as they're working extremely hard to try to get them reconnected. Lord, be with us that we make decisions that would be pleasing to you, Lord. For it's in your name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
The Pledge of Allegiance. Jeff, you prepared to lead us in the pledge tonight?
Sure. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation,
under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Miss Sandy, could you call the roll, please?
Oh, yes. Mr. Mack. Mr. Mack.
Unmute, Jane.
He must be muted.
He is.
Okay. Mr. King.
Here.
Mr. Earlyhouse.
Here.
Mr. Ard.
Here.
Mr. Talbert.
Here.
Mr. Wescombe.
Here.
Mr. McMorris.
Here.
Mr. Delat.
Here.
Mr. Harris.
Here.
Okay, at this time, I'd like to remind everybody to please mute or turn off your cell phone. And also this meeting's Zoom, so it's going to be a little different. The girls, the ladies in the office will be monitoring the chat. So if you have something you'd like to speak on from the audience, if you would kind of give them a heads up on the chat as that item comes up, it would be helpful. I know those of you who are dialed in don't have that option, so you're just going to have to speak up at that point in time. We're going to have public input, and for anybody who wants to address certain items on the agenda at that point in time, just kind of ask the girls. Shane, how were y'all raising y'all's hand a while ago? Y'all were clicking on something to do that, or
yeah,
icon?
On my iPhone, there's a button called More, and if you click on More, it just simply says lower hand, raise hand.
I got you. So if some of y'all are doing that, y'all can raise your hand maybe to help be identified. Anyway, that was the item on public input. We don't have any presentations tonight. Item 8 is to adopt a resolution authorizing the parish of Livingston, state of Louisiana, to proceed with some bonds. I'm going to let Mr. Jim Ryan speak to that at this point in time.
Can you hear me, Gary?
Yes, sir. We got you.
Okay. Hey, y'all. I hope everybody's safe. Jim Ryan with Government Consultants. I've got Ben Banks in here with Cruz and Associates as well. Real quick, Rec District 3's got about $6.8 million worth of bonds outstanding. And the interest rate on those bonds is about 4%. We think we can lower that interest rate to about 2.25%.
Nice.
And yeah, very nice. And over the life of the bonds, we'll save them about $400,000-ish. That's after all fees and expenses. We're not extending the maturity on the bonds at all, simply lowering the interest rate, borrowing money, paying off the old bonds, and then start making payments on the new bonds. Y'all have seen and heard this story 100 times.
Yeah.
So Jim, it's got to when y'all finally get everything locked in, they'll have to meet a standard for them to move forward with that. You just need our authorization to allow you to move forward with that.
Yeah, that's exactly right, Gary. So as you know, the State Bond Commission promulgates savings thresholds as a percentage of the bond after all fees and expenses are paid. And if you can't meet those savings thresholds, we can't do the deal for a number of reasons, mainly because the bond attorney won't issue an opinion on it. Carmen won't issue an opinion on it in this case. And then, if that's the case, and let's say that happens 3 or 4 months down the road and interest rates have gone up to the point where we can't refinance the bonds and meet the savings thresholds that we have to meet by state law, then we simply can't do the deal and the district doesn't owe us anything at all, no fees paid, because we all get paid on the come out of the bond issue.
Okay, so guys, what we're looking for is a motion to
I'll
adopt the
make that
resolution.
motion, Mr. Chairman.
Let me read it. You got it, Randy. Let me read it. Adopt a resolution authorizing the parish of Livingston, state of Louisiana to proceed with not to exceed $8 million financing through the Louisiana Local Government Environmental Facilities and Community Development Authority, the authority, requesting the authority to issue its revenue refunding bonds and authorizing the borrowing by the parish and the proceeds from the sale thereof to allow it to refund its obligation related to the authority's revenue refunding bonds, Livingston Parish, Louisiana North Project, Series 2014, employing bond counsel, municipal advisor, and underwriter, authorizing an application to the State Bond Commission, and otherwise providing with respect thereto. So that's the motion by Randy. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Ard. Is there any objection among the members? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
That's unanimously approved. Thank you, Jim. We appreciate
Thank
it.
you, Mr. President. Would you please tell Jennifer Meyer that I said thank you for getting me that information so quickly.
I sure will, Jim. Thank you, buddy.
Thank y'all. Y'all be safe.
Okay, item 9 is adoption of the minutes from the August 26, 2021 regular meeting. Y'all all got those in y'all's email today. Everybody had a chance to read them. Got an offer by Mr. Harris.
Motion.
A second by Mr. Girlinghouse. Any objection to the motion by Ms. Harris and a second by Mr. Girlinghouse? All in favor say aye. That carries. Item 10, Parish Treasurer Report. Parish President Ricks, you've got something to tell us about what's been going on lately.
Yes, sir. I think a lot of you know pretty much. I'm sure you're hearing from constituents. Guys, this was, I guess, the second worst storm or disaster I've ever been through since I've been out here at the parish, especially. We started off with roughly 85.9% of our parish without power, including our OEP office. Generators went down, generators failed in a lot of substations, a lot of areas where typically they don't, they did. Right now, today, as of a few minutes ago, we're less than 4.5%. We got roughly 2,400 people left without, or 2,400 meters left without power. Entergy is 551 and 1,898 from Demco. So the linemen are working extremely hard under a lot of conditions that are not favorable. And I know if you're one of the ones that still don't have power, none of that means anything to you. But if you guys have moved around your districts at all, and I know all of you have, they're out there working extremely hard and are making a lot of progress. So I think that's good news. Debris has started big time. We've got 62 double trucks on the road, 45, I believe, bucket trucks on the road. 45 buckets. That's unheard of for a parish to have that. They are averaging somewhere between 23 and 25,000 tons a day. DOTD has their crews out working the state roads. Of course, Denham Springs does their own thing, but they are just absolutely killing it. Now, having said that, we are getting some calls where maybe a tree got fell over into a ditch, blocking some water, causing a little minor flooding on a couple of streets, where he doesn't like to typically do this because once you move them out of their path, of course, as you know, it takes longer to regroup and get going again. But we did do that in a couple of areas. One of them over off South Satsuma this afternoon. So Mark pulled a bucket truck, had him go over there, take the tree out. The water's flowing. The water's going down and receding off the road. So we will call them when we get those specific kind of things, but we're trying not to break their stride of where they're going. Same thing with power companies. I know you all are getting calls. I do too. Please get my power on. I understand it. I really do. And I know you all do too. But it breaks their rhythm when we take them out of that to go try to do something special. And I won't go down the list, but they're on the average 6 to 8 buckets. There's 8 buckets in Albany right now. Well, I'll just go ahead and tell you. 8 buckets in Albany with 14 doubles. In Watson, there's 6 buckets with 9 doubles. In Walker, they've made 1 complete pass with 5 buckets and 2 doubles. Port Vincent, 2 buckets, 1 double. French Settlement, 2 bucket. I don't have the number of doubles in that area. I apologize. Livingston, they've made 1 complete pass with 6 buckets and 6 doubles. In Holden, there are 6 buckets and 8 doubles. In Springfield, 4 buckets and 8 doubles. Killian, 4 buckets and 6 doubles. In Marpole, 2 buckets and 6 doubles. So with 62 doubles and 45 buckets there, they're kicking it. They're really moving. The parish is still responding and still sending out MREs, water tarps to areas that are needing it from the state when we get those calls from the state or other resources. The Blue Roof Initiative is set up and moving forward with roof damage, and there's 800 numbers to call for that. Team Rubicon also helping with debris removal, muck out, site surveys and things. We are in the process of getting our waterway permitted to get back in and get those out and the flyovers. And if some of you have done that, you noticed it just makes you want to cry because you spend $30+ million and now you have a storm come through and it doesn't look like we spent a dime, but we're getting ready to crank that up as well. And that'll be full steam ahead with that too. We gave out sent out over 534 tons of sand, over 14,700 sandbags. And to date, we've counted over 2,500 tarps. That number's going to go way up once they're all entered and accounted for. Let's see what else I was going to tell you all. I can't thank everybody enough. I'd leave people out, but obviously all the volunteers, neighbors, helping neighbors. The National Guard was phenomenal in this disaster. They really were phenomenal. Everybody's working extremely hard. We do have 2 FEMA mobile units located one at St. Margaret Catholic Church in Albany, one at First United Pentecostal Church in Holden, and down in the Port Vincent, Killian, Springfield area, they're also going canvassing door to door. So for those who can't get out or haven't been able to have power back on or any way to contact, they are coming to you. They're moving. DSNAP has been approved. We're waiting on the location set up. It has now been approved, and we'll announce that. That'll go out on our through Homeland as soon as we get that location pinned down. Anything else?
Yes, sir, Mr. President.
That
Yes,
you
sir.
all can. Yes, sir. I don't know who
Question. Yes, this is Randy.
Hey,
Question
Randy.
I want to ask is I'm getting some feedback from some residents, and I know when we pick up the limbs and stuff the first time, there's still going to be some debris like demolished buildings and stuff like that. Are we going to pick that up or not?
Yes, we'll make another pass through. We're going to get it. We're going to get it.
What about the private canals? I'm talking about Terry Harbor and Riverscape and all those canals.
Yeah, I went down and rode through that, Randy, and I know the National Guard did a pretty good job of clearing those little narrow roads off. I promised some people down there we were going to come get it, guys. I'm going to do what I have to do to get it.
Thank you so much.
It is a mess down in that area, a devastated mess.
Thank you, Mr. President.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
That's all I
anything
had, Council. Just as a quick update. I didn't want to take much of your time up, but certainly call our office or call Brandy. I mean, you all know that anytime that you have anything, and if we can't do it, we'll get somebody that can, or at least try to get the questions answered.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Council.
Thank you. Item 11 is a public hearing adoption of Livingston Parish Ordinance number 21-24, amend section 70-51 Board of Supervisors, adding 2 additional board members to Ward 2 Water District Board per Act 144 of the 2021 Louisiana regular session. At this point in time, we'd like to open the public hearing. If anyone from the public would like to comment on this adoption of this ordinance at this point in time, feel free to make yourself known. This is to bring our parish ordinance in conjunction with the act passed by the legislature in the 2021 session. And so nobody from the public wants to speak. At this point in time, we're going to close the public hearing. Is there anybody from the council that would like to speak? If not, I'd look for a motion to adopt.
I'll make a motion.
Can I
to
read it
accept.
by title real fast?
Yeah, go ahead, Sandy, read it by title.
Okay. This is an ordinance to amend Chapter 70, Utilities, Article 2, Water District, Division 2, Ward 2 Water District of the Code of Ordinances of Livingston Parish by amending Section 70-51 Board of Commissioners to increase the board membership from 5 members to 7 members. Thank you.
Okay, so we
Motion.
got a motion. Who was the original?
Gerald.
Gerald made the motion and John seconded the motion. Is there any objection among the councilmen? All in favor, say aye. Okay, that ordinance has been amended.
Mr. Talbot,
Yes, sir.
while we're still on that particular item, I think Mr. Gerald McMorris may have an appointment he'd like to go ahead and do while it's on the agenda, and I'd like to make that as well.
I don't know that we put it on the agenda, and so it'll be
We
on
did
the
not.
agenda for the 30th. It'll be on the agenda for the 30th.
That's correct.
It was just an oversight. I think it was actually, we just forgot to put it on. I apologize. It'll be on the agenda for the 30th, Mr. Moore.
Can I ask a quick question? I'll fine. We'll wait till the 30th, but Mr. Cassio may could ask this since it was on the agenda to adopt the ordinance. I mean, it's not like we're hiding or in secret. Would it be okay to go ahead and do it tonight anyway? Or do you think an attorney opinion that we should just wait?
No, I think if it wasn't on the agenda, I think it would be in best practices to wait to do any appointments.
Okay, that's fine.
Okay, item 12, adopt a resolution to issue a letter of no objection to Angie Bourgeois addressed at 2590 Louisiana Trace Road in French Settlement, Louisiana, as mandated by the Office of State Lands for application of a water bottom lease located in Council District 8. Mr. Randy Dillette.
I'll make that motion, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, so we've got a motion to issue a letter of no objection to property owner Angie Bourgeois, said property being addressed 2590 Louisiana Trace Road, French Settlement,
second.
70733, as mandated by the Office of Louisiana State Lands for application of a water bottom lease. We've got a motion and a second. Sandy, did you get who made the motion in the second?
Oh, we had two. We had Mr. McMorris and Mr. Garlinghouse.
Well, we got I think the original motion by Randy. We'll let the second be by Mr. Gerald McMorris. Is there any objection among the members? No objection. All in favor, say aye. Okay, so that resolution carries. Item 13, adopt a resolution to allow a variance of section 125-9 submittals to subdivide lot 20 and 21 located in named subdivision on Sherrill Drive, Denham Springs, and Sherray Place subdivision for David Robertson. I was requested to put it on the agenda. Ralph, Mr. Burgess,
Yeah, I'm here.
here to speak on that item?
Yes, sir, I am.
Okay, do y'all have the packet? Do y'all have in y'all's pocket, basically the map? There with the health department had some corrections to the map. Did everybody get a corrected map, Mr. Burgess?
Yes, I sent to Sandy earlier.
Okay.
Yeah, I got it highlighted where the changes are.
Okay, so you want to go ahead and tell us about that, Mr. Burgess?
Yes, just kind of start off, client would like to take lot 20 and 21, divide it into 3 tracks each with a servitude down the center. That's the gist of the subdivide. A little history of the subdivision that we have is that the original subdivision was done back in, I've got my references map here, back in late 1972. Which included a sum total of approximately 58 lots. Then in 1995, all of those lots were re-subdivided except for lots 18, 20, 21, 19, 11, and 10, and a few other lots. Then it just recently times as of last year, and in 2019 there was a resub of lot 18, which is just to the north of our property, and there were some other properties in 20 that was resubbed in this area also. So we feel like we're requesting a waiver in the subdivision, in the named subdivision, would be in line to what has been going on in the subdivision since the 1970s. My client, I do know he had talked to the property owners adjacent to, having some conversation with them. And from my understanding from my client, that there was no opposition. I don't think anybody has called the planning for any opposition, as he's had a sign out since Sunday. I have not heard anything in regard to that. Regarding the comments from the sewer department or the DHH, they had requested us to put 2 sewer servitudes on the rear of 21A through 21C, one 10-foot there, and then another 10-foot sewer servitude on the would be the east side of 20A, 20B, and 20C in the parallel to the common line of 19 to feed up to the public maintained ditch. There's also, just for a point of reference, if you're looking at the map, and there's a 21C and a 20C, which is on the very north end, which is the part of the resub. There's a swell ditch in there, and according to the adjacent property owners also, the drainage district has been maintaining that ditch. Of course, I've been trying to get in touch with the drainage district, and they're going to look into it and get me a letter back regarding that. There's no dedicated servitude now for that drainage ditch, so my client was going to dedicate that over. They told me they're going to get back to me after they get caught up with a storm about that servitude. So, but that's where we sit right now. So I'm here to entertain any questions y'all may have, any concerns y'all may have for this project.
Mr. Chairman, do you support it?
Absolutely not. I got some calls from constituents that live in the subdivision, two in particular that are not in favor. And look, we all know typically what happens in an older subdivision when you go chopping lots up into small lots. And so I'm not in favor of the waiver. But I did have the request put on the agenda, and I did do that. So yeah. But I'm not going to be in favor of supporting.
Ralph, I've got a question. Mr. Chairman, is that okay?
Sure, go ahead.
Ralph, you mentioned that these have all been chopped up before, but has each lot been chopped up three lots on them, or are they just dividing them in half? And
well, there've been various ones. Lot 18, which to the north of us, if you're looking at my reference map, I don't know if you can see it or not. I would share my screen, which I have the sharing turned off. If you look at 18, it's adjoining to us. It's already chopped up into 3 tracks. 2 of those tracks are actually smaller than the tracks that we're actually proposing to put on our property on these 2 lots. So the other ones are, and I can go pull them all in the courthouse, but the ones I sent to Mr. Gary and the council was just some generic ones over time with some screenshots. Let's see, let me get back to this. Most of the original resubs on the property that was done in 95 have an average lot size from, I got that written down right here, from half an acre to as big as 3/4 acre in that area. Of the original resubs of the tracks. Now, the newer resubs are smaller tracks that's in the subdivision.
Okay. Gary, is there any drainage issues in this?
Absolutely. That subdivision got serious drainage issues. And part of them are because of the development. What happened across the street when remember we were trying to put the dirt fill ordinance in where they piled all the dirt up so high on those lots?
Across the street up there on 1019?
Yes.
Okay.
Those lots he's talking about is actually to the west of here where they pile they lack of a better term, you want to build a levee, built the houses up really high. As you get further east toward this property, they get closer down the grade. This is actually right there at the corner of Caraway and Sherrill that we're looking at.
Mr. Chairman.
Yes,
sir. Randy again. I have a problem supporting something in a district that that councilman doesn't support. I wouldn't have a problem supporting that in my district. The question I'm gonna ask the chairman is there any way that they could do anything to make you support it? I'm gonna take your recommendation because you represent those people. But is there anything that they could do that would make you support that?
Under the current way that, based on elevation of land and how you got to stack dirt up and the lack of restriction. No, I'm not in favor of chopping that thing up and putting 3 piles of dirt out there to put houses on. So we end up with 6 piles of dirt, in an area that already has drainage problems. If you go down Sherrill Drive in a hard rain, the road is underwater in front of those lots. And if we continue to stack dirt up there, we're gonna continue to make the situation worse. So, I mean, until we fix the drainage on there, and I don't know that it can be fixed because we just overlaid that road and did some improvements as best we could. But because of what's happened in the past and those piles of dirt up there, that if we chop that thing up into 6 lots and stack dirt up, I mean, we basically are gonna, make the drainage around there worse. And so consequently, and because if it's done in the minor resub, there's no drainage impact study related to it or anything. So consequently, if they wanted to do it in a different manner other than a minor resub and create a subdivision within that deal, then we might I might consider it. But as it exists right now, we're just chopping land up without any impact as to how 3 piles of dirt will affect, 6 piles of dirt versus 2 piles of dirt. And so we already know we got drainage problems, so I'm not in favor. And that's what That's the concern I got from the neighbors, is that they already have drainage issues over there now, and they don't need additional development of additional houses to cause problems.
That would be my position also.
So
I make a motion not to support.
at this point in time, we would entertain a motion to deny the variance at, on lot 20 and 21. Do we have a motion to deny?
I make a motion to deny.
Got a motion by Ms. McMorris. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
They got a second by Mr. Harris. Is there any objection to the motion to deny and a second? All in favor, say aye. That carried unanimously. So the motion, the waiver is denied on Cheryl Drive property. Item 14, adopt a resolution to allow variance of section 125-9 submittals to allow the subdivision of lots in a named subdivision at 25-280 Louisiana Highway 1032, Denham Springs, Louisiana, Erie Park subdivision for Tim and Denise Barbay. This is put forth by Mr. Harris.
Yes, Mr. Talbot. I went out and looked at the property, visited with the owner that's wanting to do a variance on it. And Alec Perry is the one that actually developed all that. And he said he just gave it a name. You know, it wasn't really a subdivision. And he said if he needed to, he'd give us a letter saying that also. But after talking with the man today, we're going to put this off till the 30th, and because they're drawing up a new map, plat map, and everything for it.
So we're gonna defer item 14 to the next meeting, which will be September 30th, 2021. Everybody good with that? 15, request for waiver of section 125-27 driveway culverts and or subsurface drainage for lots 13 and 14 in Belterre subdivision in Council District 2. I put this forward at the request of the Gravity Drainage District. I know there's some individuals here to speak on it. I'm gonna give you a little history. There were some culverts installed in a ditch that was designed to be open. The Gravity Drainage District engineer went out and did a study based on a 25-year storm drain, stormwater runoff plan, and determined that they were all undersized. Part of them were removed, and the board chairman asked the engineer to go restudy or revisit the original study using the numbers of 10 years. At that point in time, he determined that the culverts were adequate. If it only drained those two lots, that'd be fine, but there's another small section of land that drains through that ditch. And they, if it was developed, would have to meet the 25-year standard. So any culverts that went in there should meet the 25-year standard also, in my personal opinion. However, the drainage district thought that they might allow them to stay because it met the 10-year standard, but one of the members informed them that to allow that to happen, they would need a waiver from the council, since the council originally passed a law that said you couldn't put them in there in the first place. So that's how it got to us at this point in time. Look, if you look at the ditch, there are little bitty culverts at the bottom with a lot of fill on top of them. And so their ditch is actually more than capable of handling way more water than the culverts will allow to pass in there. I think that the original study of 25 years is what should have been addressed by the Gravity Drainage District. They chose to revisit it, and I don't necessarily agree with their findings. However, I think there's some individuals here that might want to speak on this tonight. And so if you would, let Ms. Lauren know or Ms. Sandy know by text or whatever, or type it in that you would like to speak, we're going to recognize you. But once again, I'm not in favor of granting the waiver on this particular item, because I think the original engineering study at 25 years was what should have been addressed in the first place. And I think if the culverts were upsized to meet that standard, then it would be fine. But given the fact that they're undersized and only will allow water for a 10-year storm event to drain through there, and we know that 10-year storm events happen very regular, and 25 years happen fairly regular too. So Is there anyone from the public that would like to speak on this particular item at this point in time? Okay, so nobody from the public is there
Hello?
anybody? Is this Mr. Lee?
Yes, sir. I'm sorry. I'm not too good at this.
Well, Mr. Lee, you're over here with no picture, and then you got Sandra's iPad over here, so I wasn't exactly sure which one was you. So go ahead, Mr. Lee. I know that you live on the property north of this situation, I believe,
Yes,
or
sir.
east of it or whatever.
Yes, sir. Excuse me for being on this. I could not hear y'all on my computer at my house, so I run over to Sandra's house. I'm sorry for the confusion. I'll give you a quick rundown. I had it all written down, but I'm just going to speak from my knowledge whenever this happened. Whenever my neighbor next door was first began wanting to install a culvert, I had told him about what you had mentioned about a pretty good sized culvert that I was told had to be put there if I wanted to put a pipe back there. And I told him that the size of that happened to be a 36-inch pipe. And that was the engineering study that I paid $400 for, was done by Albert Fairburn and Associates. And the reason that it was, as I understand, was a 36-inch pipe was because so much water came through it. And also this ditch is, in some points, it's 72 inches wide. And so I thought that, and I had mentioned also that a permit anytime you do anything like this, you have to have a permit before you do anything, and then you've got to get it sized. Well, the culvert or pipe was laid, and to my shock, neither the permit or a pipe sizing had been secured. My neighbor had put what he thought would work, and it was much, much less than what the engineers had said. As a result of that, my neighbor, whose computer I happened to be on, and myself, the water began to stay back in the natural drainage ditch because
I'm just looking at this bull crap.
I'm sorry?
No, somebody was speaking. We need to mute whoever that was.
I'm sorry. Okay. The water was sitting in the ditch, and because evidently it must be that the pipe is above grade, like the previous section that they removed. In fact, I believe that the engineer Toby Fruge made note of that at the last meeting that I was involved with. In addition to that, the amount of water that goes over the ditch in the back towards the woods, it never did go over the ditch into the woods. The first time and the only time I saw that was the great flood of 2016. So it's like this water the volume is so much that it runs into a dam is the best way that I can explain it. Does the water go through the 15-inch pipe? Of course it does, but it blocks the flow of water, restricts it is the word I'm looking for, so much that the water in front of mine and Sandra's house goes as far up as halfway up my driveway. So I have a concern. Now, I don't know if it'll happen, but it certainly could happen if it's a flash flood that so much water comes down so quickly and does not stop. It could enter our homes. Now, I do not believe that if everything had been done properly, then it would have been found. If a permit had been attempted to be secured, they would have found out that they're not even supposed to put a culvert in there. And so my point is that I know that a lot of things have been done over the years in our parish many years ago. People did what they want to do, but I think we're seeing the result of that right now with all the flooding problems throughout this parish. And I believe that the ordinances and the statutes put into place to protect people from flooding problems ought to be followed. So I'm asking the council not to grant this waiver. I'm asking like I'm asking that the first decision by the board of District 2, who they voted 4-1 to have the culverts removed. I'm asking that happen. And I'm also asking that the reason for this was so that they could, and I understand, so that they could add more ground to their backyards and make them larger, and they could put a fence. But the problem there is there's a 20-foot servitude back there, and everybody should be aware of that by the papers that they get. I believe Miss White was good enough to go to the clerk of court or somewhere, and it's on everybody's papers whenever they buy a home about the servitude. So if everything had been properly, none of this would have ever happened. It's not my fault. People shouldn't be mad at me because all I did was have to call about a problem that we were having. So it's not my fault any of this happened. But that's the reason.
Can I say something?
But would Miss Bradley say something, sir?
Can you recognize me? I'm Sandra Spradley. I live at Lot 11 in Belterre, and I probably get more water in my yard than anybody around here because everything that drains from the subdivision comes around my front, around the side, around the back. And when that dam was built over there, and that's what I call it, a dam, and with that little pipe in it, water backs up more because it can't get out as fast as it used to. And this is the only thing I want to say about this. If this council approves this waiver, you are opening up a big can of worms because then everybody can do whatever they want without following the ordinances and the rules and then go ask for forgiveness later. And that's not the way we should run government. That's all I have to say.
Thank you, Ms. Sandra. Thank you, Mr. Lee.
Mr. Chairman.
Thank you for listening to me.
I got one
Mr.
more
Chairman.
person.
Okay.
I got one more person who wants to be recognized from the audience. Is it Mr. Bailey? Is it Barry? Is it Barry or who? There was somebody else that wanted to speak?
Barry Guy, probably.
Barry Guy. Okay, Barry. Barry, you've got the floor. Want to state your name and address? Hello? Hey. Okay.
He has to unmute his stuff.
You gotta unmute. You gotta unmute, sir. Can you hear us? Can we send him a message, Ms. White, to ask him to unmute?
It looks like he's on his phone, so
Yeah, he's on this 5 phone, but I can't unmute him myself.
it says he's unmuted, so I'm assuming his speaker is not working.
Mr. Bailey, we cannot hear what you're saying at this point in time.
Hey, Mr. Talbert, this is Mr. Boudreaux. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir. Go ahead, Mr. Boudreaux.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, I can, absolutely.
All right, well, let Mr. Boudreaux go ahead and go, and then I'll come back.
Okay. Mr.
Mr.
Boudreaux?
Gary. Yes, sir. How you doing?
Good.
I live at 37915 Rue du Bois, which is actually 2 houses down. Mr. Guy is actually Mr. Lee's neighbor. I'm not exactly sure on the lot numbers. I'm way past all of that. We started this project 3 years ago. Whenever Mr. Guy come to me and asked me if we could start talking about extending our property and doing all of this. 3 years ago, Mr. Guy went to the parish first to talk about getting permits and stuff. That's whenever y'all told us that we had to go through the drainage board. We went to the drainage board at that point and got 3 gentlemen from the drainage board to come out and look at our project. At that point, they told us, and Mr. Guy because he was there, I didn't get off of work till they were getting done, that they would get back with us, but they did not even think that it was on their grid because they had never done it before. They had never did anything with it. So a year went down, we started clearing out trees and taking time, to do all of this. And we never heard back from them or anything of that nature. So we decided to go ahead and put in 15-inch pipe because that's what my neighbor to the south of me has. Nobody never come to us or anything until after the fact to say that we were doing anything wrong. We took our time and our money to actually make the drainage better than what it was whenever we moved there, because we cleared out 17 trees and did a whole bunch of work to get this to the point where it is now, where it actually does drain. So I really don't, we're asking for the waiver because we went to them, asked them to get back with us or do whatever, and we never got a phone call or anything stating that we were doing right, doing wrong, or nothing. It was not like we went and tried to just throw stuff in our backyard or anything like that just to try to spite anybody. We were trying to take the correct process and procedures to do it, but we got told that it was not on their grid.
Okay. Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, see.
Mr. Boudreaux?
Yes, sir.
Okay. That's your comment, or that's what you wanted to let the council know at this point in time?
I guess I'm really just, this has been one big long process that has been one big headache for everyone. I'm not saying it was right. The drainage board come to us and asked us to do something different, put a double barrel on one side. We had agreed to do all of that. This project was not done. It's still not done. We got told to put it on as a halt until we decided what was to go, and it's just, yes, I ain't gonna lie, Mr. Lee's does hold about 1 inch of water because the bell popped up about 1 inch. That project was not finished. This is something that we're paying for out of our pocket, and that we were doing it and we were trying to get everything taken care of, and we got told to basically halt our stuff. Gotcha. Now, it's just frustrating.
I understand. And look, I'm hoping that with this denial that the Gravity Drainage District will come back and work something out with y'all. And I believe because of what happened, they have some responsibility to help y'all resolve the issue. In my opinion, that's just my personal opinion. I think that given that situation, I think the Gravity Drainage District has some responsibility to help y'all resolve the issue.
May I speak?
Yeah, go ahead, Mr. Berry.
Mr. Gary Talbert.
That's me. Yes, sir.
I appreciate each one of y'all allowing us to come and speak on this. Okay, I got flooded out in 16. I lost everything I owned and had a major heart attack, which 8 blockages and a 10% chance of living. I'm a walking miracle. So I got an opportunity about 8 months down the road to be able to purchase a house, which it was that one, because I would downsize and moving out of Denham. And 3 times I went over there and I looked at that house when it was raining, because it was such a catastrophe in the back. Oh, and by the way, the front does not flow into the back. Okay. It does not. The front, the front drainage does not flow all the way around. Okay. So let's get that straight. All right. Number 2. Mr. Cecil Ott was one of the 3 that came out there. My other neighbor, Chris, all right, across the street, was out there when they came. It was 3 gentlemen. And they said, this is not on our grid. We don't have nothing to do with this. Well, that was obvious because 20 years of subdivision has been there. Not a single thing's been touched. Okay. Now, you had both of these. You had 2 houses on this side and 3 houses on this side, and the water comes and it deadheads. I don't know if I would imagine you gentlemen know something about drainage. What happens when you get a deadhead? You have a big swirl going on. And so it eroded. It had 6 feet erosion going up in the backyard. Okay. But here's the thing, it eroded all that behind there. And it not only did that, in the woods, they had 3 trees laying down. Well, you know what happens after so many years and you have all these leaves falling in there and all the sticks and everything, and water can't go through because you see, they drug the drainage on private property, not in the other servitude in back of Shane's house where it should have been done. Okay? Or is everybody up with me now? I'm trying to paint a picture of what actually has happened. Okay? So after 6 months, okay, they were going to check to see if it was their grid and get back. If it was, if it wasn't, we weren't going to hear anything. Well, we waited all but a year. But in the meantime, you know, and me dealing with piping and drainage for 35 years, I know a little bit about it. And I went across the proper trail to make sure that I checked with the council first out in Livingston, and then the district. And I had 3 gentlemen. Cecil Ott was the main one that spoke. And then they tell me, this is not in, you know, our, you know, on our grid. We don't have nothing to do, but hey, you know, I don't know if it'd be any help, but we'll dump a load of rocks in this big giant hole where this water's deadheading, coming together and making a big whirlpool. Okay. Well, if it can't go past a hill going out that's on private property, how is my neighbor's ditch gonna drain, sir? It won't. And if he has no grade, he's still not gonna drain. I don't care if you put 24, 36-inch pipe behind my house, which you only have but a 24 by 24 swell ditch.
May I speak when he's finished?
Mr. Lee, I think the council's ready to make a decision.
Okay. All right.
Mr.
So
Chairman.
Number one, I followed proper procedure. Okay. By contacting both councils. Okay. Number 1 and 2. Number 3, one of the parish workers was Cecil Ott, who came out. And Mr. Chris, who's not on here, can I, you know, vouch for it because he was there, you know, and they spoke to us. Okay. Well, upon no contact and telling us anything about this, of course they said, if you don't hear nothing, it ain't ours. And they were pretty confident none of this was there. After 20 years and us having to take 17 trees out those ditches and hire stump grinders to come out, grind all that out, pull all this material out. We didn't throw it back up in the woods. We've got some logs stacked between trees, but that's right there. But all that was cleaned up. We had a contractor who had a dig permit, who's a professional. Come out, shoot the grades. We had another professional, and both of these are out of Livingston Parish here. Okay. And if I name names, you would know them. And he came out. I purchased 12 loads of dirt to go all the way across. I purchased a pipe from Culverts where I work. And we professionally laid it, wrapped the joints, and tied it down like you're properly supposed to do. I refer people who do not have a permit to the permit office, number 1, of whatever district they're in. And if they don't know, I refer them to Livingston, to the parish council there, so they can go to them, find out where they're supposed to be at and what district, and get their permit properly. So I didn't shoot from the hip, nor did Shane on any of this. His neighbor has 15 inch. Well, that lady bought this house. She wasn't the original owner. And nothing was said to her. So everything, you know, is 15-inch pipe. That's what we tie it into. A 15-inch plastic HDPE pipe has a flow efficiency of corrugated pipe of 21-inch. So your hydraulics is 21-inch, and they're saying 24. Well, yeah, it looks like a big wall. First of all, none of it's finished. I paid for all but new cross ties to build the bulkhead and offered to double barrel it. Then, and Mr. Rodney said, "You're not an engineer. You can't do that." I said, "It's my property. It's my ditch. I can double barrel it." "No, you can't." I stopped.
That's
I
not true.
still offered Mr. Jean that I could still double barrel that. And
Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Rodney was okay with it for 6 months. And then he just decided one day he didn't want to hear it. But no kid.
Gary, I call a question on this. We need to refer this.
Mr. Berry, the issue is that the gravity drainage has asked us to approve the 15-inch. And I don't think this council is going to approve that. We're going to put it back in gravity drainage's lap and let them resolve the issue properly. We're just not going to let an undersized culvert stay. I understand your frustration, but this council's not going to approve an undersized culvert. We're going to put it back in Gravity 2's lap and let them solve their issue.
Mr. Chairman, let me speak a minute, please.
Go ahead, Randy.
This is addressed to you, Mr. Barry. I don't think you did anything wrong, okay? I think we failed you as an organization. We failed you. But you are seeking a waiver and you are seeking to bypass the ordinance that's already in there. You've done a lot to improve the drainage, and we appreciate that. And you could do even more if you put the correct size culvert. I'm going to make a motion to deny this waiver. And again, I want you to understand, I don't think you did anything wrong. I think we're the one that messed up. But you're asking for a waiver to put less of a culvert in what's required. And I think that anything we do there is going to help the drainage. And what you have already done has helped the drainage, and you should be commended for that because you went to the proper authorities and you didn't get the right advice. But again, I think it's the correct way to deny this waiver, and I'll make that motion.
So we got a waiver, but we got a motion to deny by Mr. Delat. Do we have a second?
Second.
One second.
Okay, we got a second from Scooter. Is that who we got a second from? Is there any objection among the council members to deny this waiver? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Just wait. I would strongly recommend that when Gravity 2 meets, they resolve this issue in a proper manner with respect to how our ordinances are written and not come to this council for another waiver when the drainage impact study clearly shows they need a bigger culvert. And that's not against you. I just would like you to carry that information back to Gravity 2 at y'all's next meeting.
Yes, sir.
Right. They did an impact study when this came up, and
Okay. All right. We're gonna be sure it's done properly. That it meets the standard. Item 16, board resignations and reappointments. Livingston Parish Gas District number 1, Mr. Mack.
Want to end it?
Yeah. Appreciate you, Mr. Gary. Can y'all hear me?
A little bit.
We can hear you.
All right, thank you. Listen, this is an appointment to Livingston Parish Gas District number 1 board. Mr. Johnny Johnson, the president of that board, served for many years and did an outstanding job. He was an outstanding community leader, made a lot of good decisions and helped a lot of good people. He passed away recently, and just a wonderful, wonderful man, but we're going to need to replace Mr. Johnny. And we have another outstanding citizen, Mr. Don Bernard from the Albany area, North Albany area. And I'd like to make a motion that we appoint Mr. Don Bernard to replace Mr. Johnny Johnson on that gas board.
So we got a motion by Mr. Shane.
Second.
Got a second by Mr. Tracy. Shane, point of clarification. Mr. Bernard's going to serve out the balance of the term. Is that correct?
Correct.
So when does that term expire? Because because it's not listed on this paper. When does that term technically expire?
It's Mr. Johnny Johnson's replacement. That would be January 1st, 2022, right, Sandy?
Yes, sir, you're right.
Okay, so the motion is to appoint Mr. Don L. Bernard, Resident Council District 9, to the Livingston Parish Gas District Number 1, whose 5-year term expires on January 1, 2022. That's the motion in a second. Is there any objection to? Is there any objection to that motion? All in favor, say aye. Okay, that carries. 17 committee reports. Ordinance Committee, Mr. Girlinghouse.
Did we vote on that?
We just voted.
Just there was no objection. Everybody said aye, Shane.
Thank you.
Ordinance Committee met tonight. Just as a reminder, the special meeting that we had planned before the hurricane has been put off until this coming Tuesday, which will address, we're going to discuss issues and how to address.
It's going to be Zoom.
Yeah, through Zoom on Tiki Tubing.
We're going to Zoom until we don't have an issue with COVID. As you know, this thing's working. There's no need to put anybody at risk. I mean, some people have had vaccines, some people have hadn't, some people, I know I'm exposed to people I don't know every day. And so I think to put anybody at risk is kind of not necessary if the Zoom works.
Great decision.
The other item the item we discussed tonight in the regular meeting was retention ponds and how to address the future development and future construction, or if you will, of retention ponds. And we actually a very good discussion. This is an important topic, guys. You know, we're essentially wanting to reconstruct how we do those and how we address them, and maybe put a funding mechanism in place to help maintain these ponds or help them operate at a better optimal rate going forward for new construction. And I'm sure at some point we'll try to figure out a way to address the current retention ponds and how to get those clean. But we just generally had a discussion about that. Your input on that would be most welcome, because the ordinance committee is going to bring a recommendation forward in the very near future that's going to be it's going to be significant. So I don't know if we should maybe tack it into the special meeting. What do you guys think? Or just handle it?
I have a comment. Mr. President, I have a comment. Mr. Chairman.
Randy, go ahead.
Okay. I like the idea of y'all bringing it to the full body instead of the full body getting involved right now. I think Tracy does a good job with his committee. I think there's nothing that's more important to the parish of Livingston now than fighting how we're going to deal with disasters and flooding, which seems to happen once a month. I would like to see some radical things. The things that I heard in discussion should pass with no opposition, but we should even go past that. We should do more. And I know that's going to cause some problems, but when those 3 or 4 members on that committee are able to look at the things and figure it out and bring it to the whole committee, it's going to already be well thought out, and they have did their job, due diligence, and then we can vote our conscience. But I think it's very important that the flooding situations that we have in this parish, we show some sort of movement and not just keep kicking the bucket down the road.
I agree. And that's why I was kind of reiterating that I would like just some other council members or anyone actually to attend or drop and just come onto the Zoom and discuss it, because what we are discussing and what we are going to bring forward is some way is going to be radical. It's going to be radically different from the status quo. So just to let y'all know, if you can, and I think I might put it on the special meeting, even if we just brush it up, guys.
That's fine. What you want to do?
Yeah, and that way we can bang it out again and then bring it out again in another week. So, but anyway, we're going to be discussing the retention ponds, and it's some pretty good ideas I think we have, and it's going to address things going forward in a very positive way. It's not going to be lip service. It's going to be real, actionable things we're doing here. So, and that's it.
All right.
Thank you, Andy.
Finance, Jeff.
Finance didn't meet this week. We meet before the September 30th meeting. So we'll have a report at that meeting.
And Jennifer should have our budget, our proposed budget. I talked to her because we were talking about rescheduling, and by moving that meeting back to the 30th gave her plenty enough time to get finalize her budget. So we'll get the 2022 budget probably on the 30th of that meeting.
Mr. Chairman.
Yes, sir.
Jeff, on a finance meeting, we had talked earlier in the year about possibly we had any support, or was it even cost effective to do a bond for some roads? Maybe not every road in the past, but select some roads or whatever. Is that something that could be discussed in a finance meeting?
I'm sure we can. We can discuss it.
See what the views are, and what would be the pros and cons of that financially, if we.
I could touch base with Jennifer on it. And
okay, thank you.
But I also, unfortunately, I think that would have to come down in the form of an ordinance too. So, get with Jeff first. Get with Mr. Hart, then get with us.
Yeah, our ordinance is not going to pass unless it's financial feasible.
Yeah,
and that's what I want to find out.
Yeah.
Okay, district attorney's report. Go ahead. Let's hear those famous 3 words.
Nothing to report, Mr. Chairman.
What'd that cost? $8,500?
Something like that.
Council 19, councilman's comments. Anybody from the council got anything to say tonight?
I actually have a little bit of a comment I'd like to make. Saturday, me and Mr. Delat were invited to do a flyover of the parish. I got to do most of the parish. Randy got to do most of his district. And one of the comments the pilot made to me, I really wanted to pass on. He got to fly the day after the storm, and he said the destruction was unbelievable. So it was right at about 10 days after he flew that he took me up, and he was extremely impressed with our people and the way they've cleaned up our parish. So
that's good.
Mr. Chairman.
Yes, sir, Mr. Delat.
And I want to say the same thing Jeff said. The people in our area were very devastated from Holden on down, Albany, Springfield, Morpeth, Prince Edward on down. This lower area pulled together, but they could have never made it without the services that the parish provides. And yes, they pay for those services, but we did have some leaders in place that made that happen. And thank y'all non-councilmen for that. I appreciate it.
I'm gonna tell you, I got a lot of customers in that area, and I've made 2 loops through there since the hurricane. I didn't actually go the week of the hurricane, but I was amazed at the size of the trees and the number of trees stacked up on the side of the highway. Going down, and I made the run down Highway 22 today from Springfield, through Morpeth, and then through the traffic circle back up 16, and was, I forget, I probably hit a 2-lane road 6 or 7 times, and they were basically cutting debris out, trying to, where those big trees were laying in the ditch, they were topping them out, getting them where they could get loaded up. And people just, until you go ride it, it's hard to imagine that many trees can fall in the area. It's just, I was amazed at the size of the trees piled up on the edge of the highway.
I got one comment, Gary. We were coming back to Sunday after the hurricane on Interstate 12 coming through Albany, and we came all the way from Slidell, me and my wife. And, there'd be sporadic lights on in different places. When we hit Albany, that was the darkest I had ever seen our parish. And, I talked to Shane Mack about it, and that area was hit very, very hard, and they coming back strong. They're getting electric back on and getting people's services back working. So it's a big testament to what can happen.
Yep, they pull together. Okay.
Yeah, I'd like to say something too, guys.
Okay, go ahead, Shane.
Can I say something, Gary?
Go ahead, Shane. Go ahead.
Sorry. Look, I just wanted to say a special thanks to, the Sheriff's Department and all the volunteer firemen and the fire chiefs of Livingston Parish. And, the mayors came together and parish officials, tried to do the best they can to help each other. But I wanted to say nothing to all the volunteers and listen. It just together to help each other, for neighbors, help neighbors, and just coming together to people and hand out food. And it was just a lot of ups and things, and people helping each other get through this hard times. And I think a long way to rebuilding and making it stronger. So I just felt I thank to all those who time my life to help. That's very, very.
Well, can I say something?
Sure.
Y'all hear me?
I don't know what Shane said, but I'm sure it was well said.
Shane, your service was not very good, but we got the gist of it. And we know
look, we got the gist of it. But I have to give a shout out to to Mayor Walker and Mr. Etheridge, the chief of operations over there. I mean, those guys were on it and in contact with me daily, asking me, if they needed something, if I could help them. I called them. They were pretty much just an open book, and you could see them. I mean, I'm talking as soon as they could safely get out there, they had people out there working within the city limits of Walker. And actually, at one point, I think Mr. Mack had came to the safe house and asked about some stuff. And then, which I was surprised Shane didn't actually call me, but I understand. He called, I think he talked to the mayor. Mayor called me and said, "Hey, does Shane need anything?" And then I called Shane, and I'm pretty sure he called you right back, Shane. I don't know, and he helped them out. I mean, those guys are just exceptional. The response time. Look, I went a week without power, which but I could see they were working their way to me, and every day you saw more and more work getting done. And, the power company was out there. They were just working, and they were managing that, and they just did an excellent job. And, so as much as it pains me to give credit where credit's due, I have to give credit to the mayor and Mr. Etheridge. But no, we cut around a lot, but they really did an excellent job.
Good, that's good.
All right, guys.
Mr. Chairman, one thing. I know you don't get two comments, but I do have a comment announcement. At Morpeth High School Saturday for lunch, there's going to be 1,000 lunches delivered by the Livingston Masons. And I want to give a shout out to them for doing that. Thank y'all so much, guys.
All right. Thank you very much. At this point in time, we'd entertain a motion for adjournment. Mr. Ard got it. Mr. Girlinghouse was quick second. So if there's no objections, this meeting is over.